Speak.
Hi, honey. Oh,
She speak.
oh, you're so
She
pretty.
speak. Do it
Pretty
again.
kitty.
Speak.
Oh.
She hates me right now.
Hi,
Speak,
honey.
please. Tell
Oh,
tell
it's
them your
okay.
name.
It's okay.
Oh, she's
You're
so
so,
pissed.
you could
But
see
they
it on
love
her face.
you.
She's like, what the fuck are you doing to me, human?
Your only purpose is to pet me in a specific spot,
And
right
feed.
next, right here, right here.
Ah, gotcha.
This is my dice tray that I made.
Hmm.
I found it at work. I didn't really
Yeah.
make it, and I stole it.
Yeah.
um,
Not now.
she just chills right there.
She's like, this is
Right
the
there.
perfect place for me. Oh, hi, honey. Oh, you're so pretty. Oh, yes, you are.
This is no longer a podcast about Dungeons and Dragons. This is
Kitty cat.
kitty cat time. Oh
Look at my
man,
pretty kitty. Let's just see what she's doing. I'm sure that could be a stream.
it's a Zoe time checkup. Oh!
Just live streaming what Cat is doing constantly.
She's passing out.
She's like, ow,
Baby,
like
I'm
this
sorry. I'm
screaming.
sorry. Are you
Eh.
okay?
She's like, I don't know.
Are you sure? Are you okay? She makes the
Soon I will be able to
smallest
afford my
noises.
Roomba, and I too will have a pet that will zoom
Oh,
around
yes,
with
yes.
googly eyes.
We have to name it something like Beatrice, and we'll just check on your Roomba as it cleans your.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, that's so precious. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Quaggoths. My name
Hello.
is Tor.
I'm Abby. I'm also known as Abigator Frenzy, but you can just call me Abby. I feel like we're to that point.
We've reached maximum heart level.
Familiarity, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. We're here.
Well,
Hello.
this is Queers and Quaggoths. I'm tired. I have no excuse. You were here on time, and you're just
For
like,
once, I am not late. For once, the tardiness is not my fault for sleeping in and taking a nap. For once,
listen.
it is Force's fault. I
I've
do
had
it a lot,
long
though.
week. I went to a catacon.
Woo woo.
I went back to work full time as a horse groom,
Yep.
and oh my god, I love it
It's
so
that.
much. I just want to let everyone know that learn to love your full-time jobs if you can,
Yes.
because I really missed working with the horses and having them try to bite me. Like, it's their own little way of loving me, I think.
He was stuck with me all weekend at a catacon.
Oh
And so the whole
man.
time, I'm sure in the back of his mind, he was like, I want my horses. This lady is driving us into ditches and is.
Buying me everything because I am cut off financially from the world,
It wasn't
as has
everything.
been designed by the finance bank gods of First American Bank and SunTrust, which doesn't exist in Ohio. SunTrust is a southern fantasy.
It's only a fantasy in the South, too. No, because we were going to stop by the bank and we were looking. Where's the nearest SunTrust bank?
Where I need to withdraw money because apparently someone in the UK was going to have fun with my debit card, so they blocked it, so I don't have my my SunTrust debit card. We can go to a SunTrust, right?
It's like an hour and a half away. Shit. And then we're like, oh no, it's cool. You've got your credit card.
I've got my credit card, and then my credit card is like, there's someone in Ohio
Who's trying to
who's
impersonate
trying
you.
to impersonate you. They're buying $1 worth of soda.
How dare. Honestly, though, I feel like because the only places we went, we were at that little deli.
We went
so
to a
it wasn't-
wonderful Thai restaurant.
That was really good.
That was really good.
Yeah. But that's when you could pay for yourself. I feel like I just kind of cheapskated it for I was like,
You
well,
bought
dude,
so much like snacky snacks. It was
I love
lovely.
snacky snacks.
Speaking of snacky snacks, we're diving into Dungeons and Dragons with the snackiest of creators. It's the
Yes.
Kobolds.
Oh.
Oh man, this is a podcast talk show where we we pick a monster from the monster manual, and we come up with our own ways for you, Dungeon Master,
And players alike.
and players alike, to bring a bit of queer flavor and diversity into your campaign or adventure, however long you want to run it.
Yes.
And the reason I chose kobolds is because I've found that they make great underdogs. And I definitely, as a queer man who wears a lipstick, but not today because I just woke up from a nap, I think queer's obviously the underdog.
Yes. In
I
many
like
cases.
I will never be satisfied with the population of queer individuals because we ought to take over the House of Representatives at least. I want like drag queens strutting down the halls of Congress. I want husky bears barreling through the Capitol building.
Yes.
Uh,
I just want women, and then lots of lesbian queer women in a
yes.
nice pantsuit.
A
Because let me tell
pantsuit.
you, there is nothing more attractive than a real nice looking lady who's wearing a nice pantsuit
I think that's lovely.
with some nice heels. It's just
And this is what it's like to be
get
a
behind
kobold when dragons are around.
it.
Welcome to Queers and Quaggoths. All
Again.
right, let's dive into this. First of all, the kobolds were not always the dragony sort of creatures. Actually, when they first came out in the first edition, it was a little frightening. They were like furry, tiny, even tinier, little like spindly like cat things,
Ooh.
and they
Not
were
even
like,
dragon like. They were just
no, it was
cat-like
very
things.
interesting. They were
Huh.
not what we know them as today, and I'm glad about that because that's all the history of kobolds I'm going to give you right now because
All right.
I want to dive right into this.
Do it.
All right, so obviously kobolds. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. There we go. So obviously kobolds are, how to say, they're dragon related, but they're not as dragony as dragons. How can I say this? They're
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 they're reptile like.
they're
They
dragons, but they're not dragonborn who can breathe
yes.
fire, and grow wings and fly. Like have they are like every wannabe pop star going to a Beyonce concert. Like they want to be that. They want to be on stage. But
They want to be the dragons
I
so
know they
bad, but
do.
they're not quite
They revere dragons and enter into their service many times in a D&D campaign. But they, with this reverence, they don't count their own blessings because, in lack of the absolute power of a dragon, they make up for it with tremendous cleverness and cunning.
yes.
One thing I really like about Volo's Guide to Monsters, which is sort of like the expansion of the Monster Manual for 5th edition, is that it really gave that feel of kobolds have more going for them.
Yes.
And it really shows that the way you should run kobolds as a dungeon master is not as a straight up combat encounter. You never, I think, want to do that unless that's a part of their plan. Adventurers should walk straight into a kobold trap almost always, or there should be something between the kobolds, uh, and the adventurers, or something that the kobolds can retreat to with the intention of murderizing these invading creatures who plunder their goods and belongings. Yeah, kobolds get it rough. Kobolds are always there to be beat up in adventures. They're always there for level 1 wizards to explode. Yeah. And honestly, I want to challenge my dungeon masters to, instead of running kobolds, I mean, you can use them for level 1 adventures. You can just use them as a beat 'em up. But in my DMing style, where I don't want a grind. I want the players to feel as though they're up against a foe that is true to its roots. And the kobold's roots is in self-preservation as well as community. Kobolds are intensely united. Especially if there's a dragon around or some greater entity that is available to boost their self-worth.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that I really love about the encounters that I've had as a player encountering kobolds. You almost never just see one tiny kobold off like on its own, unless it's part of the story where this kobold got like kicked out of its pack or its family. It's a very, I wouldn't even call them packs, but kobolds, at least from what I've seen from the player, yeah, maybe, but it's like a family unit. They have to join together to use their strength in numbers to face whatever obstacles.
That is it.
Yeah.
That is.
To face what. Well, it's also good because I feel like if we're going to talk about it with in regards to the queer community, I feel like it's very telling that you just need to we need to all just come together and support each other, and there's a community. I feel like that's one of the things I really love. There's a real community of kobolds where I don't know, I enjoy it.
I enjoy it too. Also, they are egg-laying creatures, it says. So, no belly buttons for these babies.
Nope.
There are winged kobolds that can be born, and they're known as urds. And they like to drop rocks, so I am for this. This is awesome.
Nice.
I would use them a little bit more cleverly than just drop rock, but there are many ways you can bring a kobold into your campaign. Mm-hmm. One of which is simply using the Tucker's Kobolds method. Tucker's Kobolds is a legendary D&D story that I had to tell you guys. Essentially, what happened is a dungeon master got together some friends, and what he did next was he put his adventuring buddies through a gauntlet of kobolds. And he designed the dungeon in such a way that it was impossible to attack the kobolds, but the kobolds were able to consistently do damage to the players for the entirety of the run.
Yes.
It was tremendous, and I really love that idea of kobolds entering into any random dungeon or empty place and making it their home, but also their fortress.
Yes.
You, as a dungeon master, can make a wild dungeon when kobolds are involved. There was an entire hallway where the party had to walk through in order in a straight line through the hallway because it was so small, and the walls had holes in them for the kobolds to shoot crossbows at them.
You're so clever and sneaky, kobolds.
Yes, but there was not any way for them to attack them, and I think this hallway went on for 90 feet.
Just 90 feet
or
of just
or something like
hallway.
that. It was a
Yeah.
murder hallway. Because guess what was underneath them? The hole had floors in it too, where kobolds could stab up with spears.
Oh, yes, that's a really, really good move on the GM's part.
No, so go look up Tucker's Kobolds to see just this is how kobolds should exist in preparation for the day when adventurers come and they never get to the dragon at the end of the dungeon.
Because they just get killed by these
Yeah.
kobolds, which is also as a player, if you, especially if you have a good DM, if you see kobolds, please don't underestimate them. Step forward with caution.
If you look at a kobold's monster stat, it is initially very tragic. They have like 12 AC, and unfortunately, they really only have one real weapon, and that is the dagger and sling that they start out as, which is only a 1d4 plus 2 each time.
Oh, poor babies.
5 hit points.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
And the winged kobold, who is apparently like a rare blessing from Tiamat, the dragon queen, only has 7 hit points.
Again, there's strength in numbers.
Strength
You gotta be crafty.
in
You have to
numbers.
remember.
But Volo's guide really expanded that idea.
Please tell me.
Oh my goodness, so precious. Oh wait, did I skip them? Where are my kobolds?
I do not know.
There's so many really amazing things in this Volo's guide. There hasn't been a Dungeons and Dragons book like it. I really appreciate it. So they invented 3 new monster blocks for kobolds: the Dragon Shield, the Inventor, and the Scale Sorcerer.
Yes.
I'm so proud because each of them has something that I feel a kobold clan would have. And should be in every encounter. Like, 4th edition does very well in designing encounters. Like, you should have this type of monster if it's this type of encounter. And that's what I feel like you should make your 5th edition kobolds into. So they have the Dragon Shield, who is basically like the champion. They have beefy hit points in comparison. 44 with 15 AC. And this is really amazing. They have the Heart of a Dragon, which basically, like, you can imagine, like, kobolds can easily go to flight instead of fight when something terrible is happening, like an adventurer. But the kobold dragon shield, as long as he is basically within 30 feet of any individual kobold that is paralyzed, frightened, they can repeat the saving throw.
It's awesome.
It's beautiful. Also, pack tactics, which is that thing where you get advantage when you attack an enemy. If you have an ally that is right next to you, 5 feet, you get advantage on that attack. So kobolds, if they stack up on a player, advantage on every attack, that's destructive, even with a d4, depending on the character's level. The Inventor is probably my favorite. Basically, the Inventor has... You could do this randomly. You could say, I'm going to roll randomly and see which one of these inventions... This is a character class I would love to play. Because there are a total of 8 inventions that the Kobold Inventor can have at a time. It can be a wasp nest in a bag. The Kobold throws a swarm of insects with 11 hit points from the bag. At the end of each turn, there's a 50% chance the swarm disperses, but still, that's awesome and amazing.
I'm just imagining a kobold with a big bag being like, here you go! It's a bunch of bees!
I know, get them! There is a scorpion on a stick. It's alive. It's alive. It makes 1 piercing damage, but if they fail the Constitution saving throw, they take a D8 of poison damage, which is amazing. That's so clever.
And I love it because it's not just like the actual statistics, which are a little bit, depending on what situation you're in and what level, but the flavor that it gives these tiny creatures is amazing. Just imagine just this clan of like tiny kobolds coming up. You've got one who's like a big beefy like kobold, but he's still really short. He's in the front. He's got a big shield. He's like, oh. And then you've got this with a bunch of bags and he's waving a stick around with a scorpion on it. It's amazing. The flavor
it also has the most powerful of all weapons at its disposal. A skunk in a cage.
Yeah. I am so happy to receive this information because I knew none of this. This is awesome.
Walking speed of 20 feet, AC of 10, 1 hit point, and it always uses its action to spray musk at any creature within 5 feet of it.
Yes.
The creature, if it fails its saving throw, cannot take any actions because they're retching.
Because it's a skunk. You've got a skunk.
No discrimination on size. It can be an ogre for all I care, and I would accept this as amazing. Oh wait! Once the skunk has sprayed its musk, it can't do so again unless it finishes a shorter long rest.
Just the skunk away in the game.
This is what I don't even want a player sheet. I just want this right here. Mm-hmm. It also has a flask of acid, alchemist's fire, a basket of centipedes, a green slime pot, and rot grubs. All of these can create a hazard in a certain area on the battle map.
Yes.
Pretty amazing. I'm very proud.
It reminds me of a lot of like kids who kind of joined up and were like, we need to find weapons. We need to find stuff that will really gross out people who try to attack us. We'll get a skunk and we'll get some centipedes and we'll get some awesome cool bugs and they won't even know what hit them. Amazing. I
think this should be your iconic kobold boss. Like, this should be your enemy. And then there's the Scale Sorcerer, which is really cool, primarily because it can cast a lot of spells. Ooh. And the second level spell that it has is Scorching Ray, but it also has Charm Person, Chromatic Orb, Expeditious Retreat, and Poison Spray. Ooh. Now, imagine what Charm Person can do.
Yeah.
When the players have Charm Person, it's the most annoying thing ever. They can literally just point at a thing and it now loves them and it has to follow. Like, I don't know if there's even a saving throw with Charm Person.
I feel like there is.
I feel like there might be, but it's ridiculously easy to pass. Or fail, rather.
See, I remember in all the campaigns that I've had Charm Person. Let me look this up.
Well, the Scale Sorcerer has something called sorcery points, which some of you might recognize from the character class available in the player's handbook. Ooh. The Kobold has 3 of those, and it can use it to cast a subtle spell or a heightened spell. Basically, it can give disadvantage on a saving throw with heightened spell, and it can also cast a spell without any somatic or verbal components. So imagine if this kobold tries to stop the fight and say, "We come in peace, please stop." And then the players are like, "Okay, we listen." He comes closer and casts a spell without any verbal components. He just sort of like waves at them and voila, you are now charmed, or voila, scorching rays.
that's pretty cool. Also, I think it also depends on like what level you are. So the creature has to do a wisdom saving throw, I'm assuming, against the spell save DC. So,
Yeah.
and then also I think with charm person it's interesting because at the end of charm person, you know you've been charmed. After the spell ends, you're like, oh shit, that little kobold just
That wascally kobold.
they're just so sneaky.
That's a wascal. Man, that's great. That's all I have from kobold stat blocks for all you dungeon masters. So obviously, you want to create a dungeon probably with the way I did it. Actually, once again, let me tell you what I did.
Tell me.
You remember the Braunfels sewers?
Yes, I do.
So in one of my 5th edition campaigns, and this is mentioned in the expanded material in the Volo's Guide, that kobolds sometimes are not always limited to serving dragons living in far-flung places. They can integrate into society because you imagine with their craftiness, they would be a great boon to a local town or village that wants to expand and build up its infrastructure. Luckily, it does mention that kobolds make exquisitely good sewers.
Ooh.
So I decided, let's have a city that has a good portion of its infrastructure built by kobolds, and they live beyond the sewer. And the sewers are extra efficient, but because they know that there is such a stigma, they do not allow people to just visit them. They create a series of traps to dissuade any who wish to do them harm or gawk at them. So what I did was the sewers had passageways, and there are several of them. You knew which one was safe to go in because you simply had to follow your dragon colors, essentially. If you went down any chromatic chambers, they would paint a certain color along the side of this chamber. And if you went down that chamber, guess what? A trap goes off, and if it's red, you take fire damage. If it's green, you take poison damage. That sort of thing. If you went down the areas with what were they? The metallic.
Yeah.
With the metallic, you would not, because guess what? These are all based on the breath powers. So essentially, when you went down the metallic dragons, you would get hit by like something that slows your speed or something like that, and that would raise an alarm to the kobolds to let them know someone's coming.
Yeah. Tip to players though to check for traps. Never ever throw your halfling into the tunnel to see what happens. That is not something that I would recommend.
Rude.
Very rude, and I would not recommend it. Not a way to check for traps. Just saying.
Do the gnome instead. Let's explain that. Kobolds hate gnomes.
Yes, they do.
They hate them.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's really fucked up. So here's the thing. Kobolds are not dragons, but in 4th edition lore, they could have been. They were born when dragon eggs first hatched in, a long time ago when Io, this big dragon god, was like, I create everything. And kobolds were like, oh, I better hatch. They hatched a little too early in a lot of the stories. In one particular story, they hatched from another particular dragon queen. I don't think it was Tiamat. But basically, there were a bunch of thieves in her lair. Mm-hmm. And so Kurtulmak, who is the dragon god, the kobold god, whoopsie.
Yes.
He is the god of kobolds.
And then Glittergold was the gnomish deity.
That's right.
Garl Glittergold. Garl Glitter Gold.
Glitter gold. Um, Kurtulmak was like, I'm an infant. I will make your dungeon impenetrable. And
Yes.
that's what he did. He immediately set about getting defenses and traps, and he stopped the thieves from getting the loot.
Hmm.
And that's how kobolds are born into the world. Kind of. That's kind of. If you dig too deep into the lore, you could come up with different ways that they come into the fold. But Kurtulmak is important because Kurtulmak stands as the the
Oh
rule
God.
of what
Perfect.
happens when kobolds are too great. Someone always has to take them down a peg because they're jealous.
Well, that's true. In this, so according to the cold bulb myths, um, uh, Kurlmach
Kurtulmak!
had this cave with all these things, and so Carl saw this cave and was like, "No, you're getting too big for your britches. I don't like it," and collapsed the cave. It was supposed to be a prank, quote unquote.
Kurtulmak, I believe, was going to have a big party, and he was gonna tell them about when he stopped the thieves from stealing all of his mother dragon's things, and how great he is for doing that, how ingenious and clever he is, and then he would collapse the entire thing around his guests.
Yeah.
Well, Garo Glittergold was just a jealous pantsy nanny.
According to Cobalt legend, yes, I'm sure that gnomes have a very different story to tell, but
Oh, they
that's
do. They do. It was an amazing prank set up by Garl when he discovered the
oh
kobold was going to
girl.
do this. And he was like, well, I'm going to one up him. I'm going to trap him in his own trap. And as far as kobolds know, Kurtulmak has been in his dungeon ever since, wandering endlessly, and hopefully one day they will release him. But there's another addition to this tale, one where Io notices that Kurtulmak has been basically trapped and buried in his own amazing dungeon slash keep. And so I believe what would happen next, or what happened next, according to fourth edition lore, is that Io was like, okay, you've been given the shorthand of the stick, and here's what I can do. I can either give you the strength to rise up and rebuild your fabulous dungeon that is possibly the greatest dungeon that has ever been built, or I can make you a champion for your kobolds. And he eventually chose his kobolds over his greatest work.
See, community. You
Community.
guys stick together, guys.
Yayo.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's exactly what it is. And to my delight, that is how we will enter into the adventure session. Or, if you want, you can call it OTP.
The one true pairing of the week.
Yes, OTP of the week. Abby, did you have anything in mind for OTP for kobolds this week? Do they entice you?
Um, Sorry, I'm gonna sneeze.
Go!
Excuse me.
That was beautiful. Well done.
Thank you. I try to be as graceful and as beautiful. I really hope that everybody's enjoying my sniffling and my sneezing. Anyway, I am very intrigued with one. I love kobolds. I just think that they're small and they're wily and they're just they fill me with joy. So
Oh.
I have an idea of a tiny little encounter. So let's say that, and this is, I'm going to make this for like, if you want to make this a tiny like adventure in your campaign. So your adventurers are walking around, they're doing their thing, and then all of a sudden they come across
Oh.
no, huh, a kobold who is running desperately, and she has lost her eggs because some fucking gnome decided to pull a prank, fucking steal her eggs. What is going on?
Rude.
So
Rude.
oh no, it wasn't. So back up. I like the idea of having like I so my girlfriend said that I needed to watch her eggs for just a little bit, and I lost them.
Oh no!
She's going to kill me. She's literally going to impale me on a stick. I don't know what to do. You guys need to help me. So depending on what your players decide to do, you need to track down this crafty gnome who was just like, they were just being annoying.
Yeah.
So,
Do these gnomes need to go back to the monster manual where they belong?
yeah, but the kobolds were just being annoying. So I thought that I would just like take an egg. It's just a fun prank. Everybody does it, right? To which your adventurers could be like, no, not cool.
And those are children.
Mm-hmm. So then you bring back the eggs, and the girl can be like, I'm so sorry, but look, your eggs are safe. You probably shouldn't put me on babysitting duty anymore. But I like the idea of having to like a lighthearted adventure where your players have to like,
oh yes,
we need to go rescue this kobold's eggs, her babies. She needs her babies.
That's so.
And also the girlfriend being like, she's gonna kill me. I lost her babies. They were taken by gnomes.
Oh no, that's so precious.
Yes, I like that idea. That was my little tiny contribution.
It's beautiful. I kind of want to write that now. My goodness. That's a perfect hook to bring kobolds into your setting without murderizing them.
Yes.
Murderize the gnomes instead.
Murderize the gnomes instead, because...
Sorry.
You gotta murderize somebody, maybe.
Well...
In this situation, yes. It was totally justified.
Yeah! They stole children! Jeez, what? That's kidnapping!
But no, dude, it was just like a prank. I was gonna give them back eventually, but like...
Stab you!
No, those kobolds are just so uptight.
Stab you! Roll to attack!
No, do you know how loud those kobolds are?
Roll initiative! Okay, so, you remember that dungeon that Kurtulmak built?
Yes.
It is called Duras Strix Herthy. Call it something else in your campaign. And here is what you should do. You should make it so that it exists. It is a fable. It has been abandoned. It has collapsed in on itself. But what you could do is you could do one of two things. You could have your players be adventurers searching for it for glory and gold. Or you could have it be a kobold party searching for their ancient past. Ooh. Or you could have a mix of each. You could have a player be a kobold who is searching for what should be their birthright. Or you could have an NPC kobold in town, sort of being like, oh, I need adventures to find my birthright. Which, actually, I think that should be what it is. You should do a really funky kobold voice, and you should just make the slobberiest brown noser you can imagine.
I need mighty adventurer, please. Please.
Oh.
I got the babe. I need my birthright.
My birthright. So here's the thing. The big piece of treasure that you want to put at the end of this dungeon is the Banner of Scales. The Banner of Scales is a magic item that I've had in my brain for a long time. And essentially, what it does is to whoever wields it, they can grant temporary hit points to their followers. And it would be something like depending on your character's level, like 1d8 10 or 12 of hit points. So if your level is level 3, you get 3d10 hit points, something like that. And it can be used once per long rest.
That's a real fucking good weapon. Or shield.
Banner.
Banner.
It's sort of like a standard that, you carry into battle. The problem is you have to find it. You have to go into the ruined remains of this kobold dungeon. And although the dungeon is destroyed for the most part, that is half the battle. Maneuvering through this wreckage and trying to find your way past these ingenious puzzles and traps, as well as getting through the parts of the dungeon that are functional, and getting through the parts of the dungeon that are clearly blocked off. So you'll have to use your own wits and cunning to figure out how are we going to get past this blocked hallway that we know needs to be moved. Do we go hire some villagers or do we do it ourselves? And this is where you can bring in something amazing. You can bring in a few more adventuring parties. This is going to be what I imagine a race through the Dungeon of Scales, where each adventuring party wants the Banner of Scales for different reasons. You can imagine if the local count got a hold of this thing and he was able to use it on his army.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you should take this idea and make it explicitly about this banner and getting through the Kobold's legacy of this dungeon and learning about everything that happened to Kortomak, the struggles of the Kobold people now that their ancestral home is basically destroyed and gone, and what ultimately befell Kortomak after he accepted Eo's offer. The gay stuff should probably come from
the brown noser.
Probably. I'm thinking this little NPC kobold can be like he comes from a silver dragon's hideout.
Okay.
And this silver dragon is an immense book nerd. And this lone kobold's job is to organize the silver dragon's library.
Yes.
Here's the thing, though. He has a real hots for that dragon.
Aww.
He's like, just turn into a little kobold and kiss me. He's got his own stash of like romance novels that he's imported from various merchants in nearby towns, and he's like, oh, one day. Now here's the thing: the silver dragon doesn't visit all the time. He visits. He chills and reads a couple hundred books, and then he's like, all right, I gotta go and do my silver dragon thing. Bye. And that's how he talks.
Just like, hi.
Yes. Be good.
Just staring out the window, dreaming of being like, we had that second of eye contact.
Exactly.
It felt really special this time. I don't know.
So
I hope I made him happy with all the books that you imported for him.
I organized his weekly reading list. I hope he gets the message. It spells out, yeah. Do you want to date me in book titles or something like that?
Me.
Kiss me. Kiss me. Oh man, it's beautiful.
That's amazing. You know I'm a sucker for anything involving books.
I know! Library romance.
Sweet.
Yes.
I also love the idea of he's just secretly importing a bunch of dragon romance novels that he's just
Oh.
It reminds me of my
my
the dragon's name.
Oh man, pick a really complicated name for this dragon too. And then give him a cute little nickname that the kobold calls him.
You're now my man.
My meh. So the goal of this kobold should be to get the Banner of Scales to profess his undying love for his silver dragon. That should be his goal.
Sorry, I just got really like.
You got chills. You got
got
gay chills.
That was so. It would be so sweet. You'd be so like within the story. You'd have moments where you're like, oh man, there's just other people who want this banner.
That's the horrible thing, is he doesn't know how badly people want this and how far they'll go to get it.
Yeah. He's just like, I just want it so I can. It seemed like something that Mary would be really interested in. And it would be a good, like, hey, I got this for you with the help of my friends because I really care about you. But
and then he says, by the way, you can take all the treasure in there because I need to pay you, but I don't have money. Unless you want library cards.
I can give you information is the best.
Yep. So yeah, that'll be your little OTP of the week. You could have this.
I want to see this now.
Oh, what?
I want this to come to fruition.
Oh, I need to do a lot of things. I need to get back on 5th edition on my channel, because it's just so popular right now.
It's very popular right now.
And I want to get more players to play it.
Yes. I don't know. I feel like the 4th edition campaign that's going on is really
That's really intense. I'm loving that. We need to get back to it.
Tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow. All right. Do you have anything else to say about these lovely kobolds, or shall we guide our listeners forward?
Only that they're just cute and tiny and mischievous and really, really inventive and cunning. And now I want to be an inventor kobold. It's what I want. I didn't know it existed. Thank you for the knowledge that there are tiny kobolds running around with just bags of insects that they're like, this is really gonna scare them off. I'm ready.
I'm looking forward.
I didn't know it existed.
This is gonna be so good. All right. What do we want as our monster of next week?
Oh, so it's my turn.
It's your turn. Yeah, we've had pretty stable choices in the past few episodes.
Pretty stable. I was about to say the Etten wasn't very bad.
The Etten actually was very interesting. I greatly enjoyed tackling how you can tell really fun queer stories with them.
Mm-hmm. So I was looking, and so I was debating on whether to do something really hard like Mimics, where we really have to stretch our brains, but...
Mimics was real fun. That was a real fun, silly episode. I really enjoyed that.
Hilarious.
Oh, yes.
However, I decided to keep it fairly normal, fairly kind of low-key for next week. So, next week, we are going to be diving in to gnolls.
Ah!
Yeah. Yep. We're going to be tackling those hyena creatures. It's gonna be something.
Bow wow, motherfucker.
I'm ready. So yes.
Well, everyone, we really appreciate you sticking around for this wonderful episode of Queers and Quaggoths. We hope to see you once more in the future. Mm-hmm. And you can email us at queersandquaggoths@gmail.com. Follow on the forefronts if you want to see all the silly things that I'll post about, including the queer stuff, if that is your jive, among other things.
I assume if you're listening to this, it is called Queers and Quaggoths, so I hope you at least partly enjoy queerness.
Absolutely. Or if not, just listen to us talk about these monsters, because I like giving out DM advice as well.
I enjoy it.
And Abby, you can find her at Abby Gator Frenzy.
It's me. You
can follow me on
Twitter. And I post things sometimes. That's me.
Ask her questions about Chuck Tingle novels.
Yes. I love Chuck Tingle novels. I miss finding ridiculous, like smutty books and reading them on stream. I really miss it.
I think that's ingenious. I think that is ingenious.
It was so much fun when I was doing it, and there were so many. My problem is finding that because there's a very thin line between hilariously erotic and just people who take it seriously, and it's just, oh yep, that's porn. There's only so much like really explicit ridiculousness that you can read before it gets boring. You know what I mean? Anyway, I miss it.
I miss it. We'll see if we'll continue onward until we see it again.
Yes.
But yes.
Once I get my babysitting schedule all worked out.
Dang, son. Babysitting is roof.
Babysitting is rough, and also the flow from that sentence. Like, I'll see what my babysitting schedule is like, and then I'll get back to reading hardcore smut on Twitch.
Kablam! Alright, guys. We're gonna drop it.
Hey, we love you.
We love you, and be queer and play Quaggoths. I don't know a tagline, man.
Be queer and be excellent to each other. I'm stealing from Bill and Ted's Most
Hey,
Excellent.
not bad.
Bill and Ted?
Oh, I didn't have a good transition to that. Oh well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's visual. It doesn't matter.